The discovery. The Helios Mining Corporation's vessel, Fortune's Gambit, drifted through the Kuiper Belt's darkness, its sensors probing the void for valuable mineral deposits. Sarah Chen, chief mining engineer, stood at her station, reviewing the latest scan data when an anomalous reading caught her attention. "Captain Rodriguez," she called out, her voice cutting through the bridge's ambient hum. "I'm picking up something strange. It's not showing up as any known mineral composition." Captain Maya Rodriguez, a veteran of 20 years in deep space mining, moved to Sarah's station with practiced efficiency. Her dark eyes narrowed as she studied the readout. Distance: about 300,000 kilometers, bearing 045. Sarah replied, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Whatever it is, it's big. At least twice our size." Rodriguez considered the information. Unknown discoveries in deep space usually meant one of two things: profit or danger. Often both. "Send out a probe. Let's see what we're dealing with before we commit to a closer approach." The probe's data started streaming in minutes later. The object was definitely artificial. A ship, but unlike any they'd encountered before. Its hull was covered in what appeared to be complex geometric patterns, visible even through centuries of space dust. "No match in any known registry," reported Marcus Wong, their communications officer. "Not human, not Centaurian, not even Proxima in design. This is something else entirely." Rodriguez made her decision. "Suit up. We're going to take a closer look." 4 hours later, Rodriguez led a team including Sarah, Marcus, and Dr. James Harrison, their xenotech specialist, toward the derelict vessel. Their magnetic boots clanked against the mysterious ship's hull as they made their way to what appeared to be an airlock. "These patterns," Dr. Harrison muttered, running his scanner over the hull. "They're not decorative. They're active. There's some kind of energy flowing through them, but it's so faint our ship's sensors couldn't detect it from a distance." Sarah placed her gloved hand against the hull, and everyone gasped as the patterns around her touchpoint shifted slightly, creating new configurations before settling back into their original form. "It's responding to electrical impulses," Harrison explained, excitement clear in his voice. "The minimal charge from your suit's systems was enough to trigger a reaction. This isn't just metal. It's some kind of programmable matter." They found their way inside through an airlock that seemed to recognize their presence and cycled open of its own accord. The interior was even more remarkable than the exterior. Corridors stretched out before them, their walls covered in the same shifting patterns they'd observed outside. "Look at this," Sarah called out, her light illuminating what appeared to be a control panel. As she approached, the surface came alive with soft, pulsing light. "It's still powered, after who knows how long." Dr. Harrison was practically bouncing with excitement as he took readings. "This technology, it's beyond anything we've ever encountered. The entire ship appears to be made of this programmable metal. It's not just a coating or an outer layer. It goes all the way through." "What could something like this be worth?" Marcus asked, voicing what they were all thinking. Rodriguez shook her head. "This isn't about money anymore. This is bigger than profit. This technology, it could change everything." As they explored further, they found no signs of the original crew, no bodies, no personal effects. It was as if the ship had been deliberately abandoned, left as a gift for whoever might find it. In what appeared to be the ship's central chamber, they found something that made even Harrison fall silent. A massive spherical structure dominated the room, its surface constantly shifting and flowing like liquid metal. "It's some kind of database," Harrison finally said, after running several scans. "Or maybe a computer core. It's still active, still processing something after all this time." "Can we interface with it?" Rodriguez asked. "Maybe, but we'd need more specialized equipment. This isn't something we can figure out with just mining tools." Rodriguez nodded, coming to a decision. "Marcus, send a message to Earth. Priority 1. Eyes only for the Science Council. Tell them we found something they need to see. But keep it vague. We don't want every corporate salvage team in the system racing out here. As they prepared to return to their ship, Sarah lingered, watching the patterns shift and flow across the walls. "Captain," she said slowly, "what do you think this ship was for?" Rodriguez studied the flowing patterns, remembering how they had responded to their presence. "I don't think it was abandoned," she said finally. "I think it was waiting for someone to find it who could understand what it really is." Unknown to the exploration team, their interaction with the ship had already set in motion a chain of events that would change the course of human history. Deep within the vessel's core, ancient systems began to wake, recognizing for the first time in millennia the presence of beings capable of understanding and using its gifts. The Fortune's Gambit departed with detailed scans and small samples of the mysterious metal, leaving the ancient vessel under a quarantine beacon. But as they set course for Earth, none of them could shake the feeling that they hadn't just found a derelict ship. They had found humanity's next great leap forward. Understanding the unknown. The Science Council's high-security research facility, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, buzzed with activity. 3 months had passed since the Fortune's Gambit's discovery, and Dr. Elena Santos stood before a sealed chamber, watching as the sample of programmable metal twisted and reformed itself under carefully controlled electrical impulses. "Run the sequence again," she instructed her team, dark circles under her eyes betraying countless sleepless nights. The metal responded, forming complex crystalline structures before dissolving back into its base state. Sarah Chen, now permanently assigned to the research team, approached with fresh data readings. "The neural interface tests are showing promise. The metal doesn't just respond to electrical signals, it can actually learn from them." Elena nodded, making notes on her holographic display. "It's like it remembers. Each time we run a sequence, the response becomes more refined, more precise. Have you reviewed the molecular analysis?" "That's the really interesting part," Sarah replied, pulling up a detailed scan. "The material's atomic structure isn't fixed. It can reorganize itself at the quantum level. That's how it achieves these transformations without losing structural integrity." Their discussion was interrupted by Dr. Harrison, who burst into the lab with unusual excitement. "You need to see this," he said, leading them to his research station. "I've been analyzing the data we recovered from the ship's core. It's not just a database, it's an instruction manual." On his screen, complex patterns shifted and flowed, reminiscent of the ones they'd observed on the ship. The patterns aren't random. They're a language, a way of programming the metal. The ship wasn't just made of this material. It was teaching us how to use it. Delina leaned closer, her scientific skepticism warring with growing excitement. "You're saying the ship was designed to be found, to pass on this technology?" "Exactly," Harrison nodded. "But here's where it gets really interesting. The ship's systems were actively scanning us while we were aboard, analyzing our technology, our methods of interaction. It was learning about us as we were learning about it." Sarah frowned. Why would an advanced civilization leave something like this for others to find? It doesn't make sense. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Security Chief Michael Torres's voice came over the intercom. "All personnel, secure your stations. We have an unauthorized access attempt in progress." The research team quickly locked down their equipment as armed security personnel took up positions around the lab. Elena moved to a security terminal, accessing the facility's surveillance systems. "Someone's trying to hack our database," she reported, fingers flying across the interface. "They're good, bypassing our quantum encryption like it's not even there." "That's impossible," Sarah protested. "Those security protocols were designed by the best AI systems on Earth." Harrison's face went pale as he studied his own readings. "It's not impossible if they're using technology similar to what we found. The attack patterns, they're like the ship's programming language." Security Chief Torres arrived personally, his dark uniform contrasting with the sterile white of the lab. "We've traced the attack. It's coming from multiple points across the solar system. Whoever they are, They know what you found. Elena made a quick decision. Initiate total shutdown. Disconnect all external connections. We need to isolate the research data. As the facility went into lockdown, Sarah noticed something strange about their test sample. The programmable metal was moving, forming patterns they hadn't seen before. "Dr. Santos," she called out urgently, "I think it's responding to the attack." They watched in amazement as the metal formed what appeared to be a three-dimensional map of the solar system, with pulsing points of light marking the sources of the cyber attack. Harrison studied the display intently. "It's not just showing us the attack, it's showing us how to defend against it. Look at these patterns. They're like antibodies responding to an infection." Elena quickly grasped the implications. The ship didn't just give us new technology. It gave us a defense system, something to protect us from others who might abuse it. Over the next few hours, they worked frantically to understand and implement the defense patterns suggested by the metal. When they finally managed to repel the attack, the satisfaction was short-lived. "The attack signatures," Torres reported grimly. "They're not from Earth or any known human colony. Something out there knows what you found, and they want it badly enough to reveal their presence." Elena looked at the sample of programmable metal, still showing the map of the solar system. "Then we need to work faster. This isn't just about scientific discovery anymore. We need to understand this technology before whoever's out there decides to take it by force." Sarah remembered the feeling she'd had aboard the ancient ship, that sense of something waiting, watching. Maybe that's why the ship chose to reveal itself now. Maybe it knew we'd need it. As if in response to her words, the metal sample shifted again, forming new patterns that seemed to pulse with urgent purpose. The race to understand its secrets had become a race for survival, and humanity couldn't afford to lose. Meanwhile, in deep space, other forces were moving. The attack had failed, but it had served its purpose. The hunters now knew exactly where their prey had hidden the legacy they had spent millennia searching for. The only question was, had they finally found worthy inheritors of the technology, or just another species to be harvested and forgotten? The threat emerges. The emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council was called at midnight. Holographic displays showed a fleet of unknown vessels moving through the outer solar system, their trajectory unmistakable. They were heading toward Earth. Admiral Claire Winston stood before the assembled leaders, her weathered face grave. "The vessels appeared suddenly at the edge of our sensor range. They're using some kind of technology that makes conventional detection almost impossible. If it weren't for the new scanning protocols developed from the programmable metal research, we wouldn't have seen them at all." Elena Santos and her research team sat at the back of the room, having been summoned from their facility. The holographic display showed 12 massive ships, each easily dwarfing Earth's largest vessels. "What do we know about them?" asked the council president. "They're not responding to any communication attempts," Admiral Winston replied. "But their energy signatures match the attack patterns we detected 3 months ago. These are the same beings who tried to hack our research facility." Sarah Chen studied the sensor data on her tablet. "Look at their hull configurations," she whispered to Elena. "The geometric patterns, they're similar to what we saw on the ancient ship, but wrong somehow. Distorted." Elena stood up, drawing the council's attention. "Those ships are using a corrupted version of the technology we found. The patterns are aggressive, unstable. Whoever they are, they found the same technology we did, but they're using it differently." "Weapons?" someone asked. "Unknown," Admiral Winston answered. "But given their size and the level of technology they're displaying, we have to assume they're heavily armed." Security Chief Torres, who had been quietly monitoring communications, suddenly straightened. "We're receiving a transmission. It's coming from the lead vessel." The holographic display flickered, and a figure appeared. It was vaguely humanoid, but its form seemed to shift and flow, as if made of living metal. When it spoke, its voice was a harmony of mechanical tones. "Children of Earth," it said, "you have found something that does not belong to you. The legacy is not meant for primitive species, Surrender it, and you may survive as our subjects. Resist, and we will take it by force." The council chamber erupted in angry murmurs. Admiral Winston stepped forward. "We don't respond well to threats. This technology was left for anyone to find. We have as much right to it as you do." The alien figure's form rippled with what might have been amusement. "You understand nothing. The legacy was left by the architects as a test. Only those strong enough to defend it are worthy of its power. You have one planetary rotation to surrender the ship and all research data. After that, we will take what is ours." The transmission cut off, leaving the chamber in tense silence. "How long until they reach Earth?" the council president asked. "At their current speed, 5 days," Admiral Winston replied. "Our entire fleet couldn't stop one of those ships, let alone 12. Elena exchanged looks with her research team. "We might have a solution," she said. "We've been making breakthroughs in understanding how the programmable metal works. If we're right about its true purpose, it's not just a technology, it's a defense system." "Explain," Winston demanded. Sarah stepped forward, bringing up new data on the holographic display. "The metal doesn't just respond to commands. It adapts, learns, evolves. The patterns we've been studying. They're not just programming. They're antibodies against hostile uses of the technology. We think the ship was left as a vaccine, a way to protect developing civilizations against exactly this kind of threat." Dr. Harrison continued. "The architects, whoever they were, must have foreseen that their technology could be weaponized. So they created a system that could recognize and counter corrupt versions of itself." "Can you make it work?" the president asked. "In 5 days." Elena took a deep breath. "We'll need everything you can give us. Resources, personnel, and most importantly, direct access to the original ship. What we have in the lab isn't enough. We need to wake the ship's core systems fully." Admiral Winston nodded grimly. "You'll have whatever you need. But understand this. If you fail, Earth burns." As the council session ended, Elena gathered her team. "Sarah, you and Dr. Harrison coordinate the ship recovery operation. I want it moved to our facility immediately. Torres, we'll need expanded security. Our work will attract attention now that they've revealed themselves." "What about the fleet?" Sarah asked. "They'll detect us moving the ship." Elena smiled grimly. "Let them. In fact, I'm counting on it, because while they're watching us recover the ship, they won't be paying attention to what we're really doing with it." Deep in space, the alien fleet continued its inexorable approach. In their command ship, the being who had delivered the ultimatum watched Earth's preparations with what passed for satisfaction among its kind. Let the primitives scurry and scheme. Soon, the legacy would be reclaimed, and this upstart species would learn its proper place in the galaxy. But had they made a crucial mistake? In their arrogance, had they revealed themselves too soon? As Elena's team raced against time, the ancient ship's systems continued to wake, recognizing in humanity something its original creators had sought for eons, not just the ability to use their technology, but the wisdom to understand why it had been hidden in the first place. Forging the weapon. The ancient ship hung suspended in the center of the vast underground chamber, its surface alive with pulsing patterns of light. Elena Santos stood on the observation deck, watching as teams of scientists and engineers swarmed around it like busy insects. "Final power coupling is complete," Sarah reported, joining her at the window. "We're ready to begin full integration with the facility systems." The last 3 days had been a blur of activity. The military had moved the ship with remarkable speed, using experimental stealth technology to minimize detection. Now, with less than 48 hours until the alien fleet arrived, they were about to attempt something unprecedented. "Start the initialization sequence," Elena ordered. Around the chamber, massive power conduits began to hum with energy. The patterns on the ship's surface brightened, spreading outward along specially designed channels that connected it to the facility's infrastructure. Dr. Harrison monitored the process from his station. "Neural interface is stable. The ship's core is accepting our input. It's teaching us. Elena felt it too. The neural link they'd developed allowed direct communication with the ship's systems, and through them, access to the vast repository of knowledge left by the architects. It was like drinking from a fire hose. Overwhelming, but exhilarating. "Show me what we've learned," she said. Harrison brought up a holographic display. The architects weren't just advanced aliens. They were the first civilization to achieve true symbiosis with their technology. The programmable metal was their greatest creation, but also their greatest mistake. Because others weaponized it, Sarah added, understanding dawning in her eyes. Exactly. The beings threatening Earth, the harvesters, as the ship's records call them, they found early versions of the technology and corrupted it. Instead of working in harmony with it, they tried to dominate it, force it to their will. Security Chief Torres entered the control room, his face tight with concern. The fleet has accelerated. New arrival estimate is 36 hours. And we're detecting smaller ships breaking formation, probably scout vessels. Elena nodded grimly. They know we're up to something. We need to work faster. She turned to her team. Show me the defense grid progress. Sarah brought up a new display showing Earth's orbital space. Hundreds of small satellites were highlighted in blue, forming a complex web around the planet. The new satellites are in position. Each one contains a small amount of programmed metal linked to the ship's core consciousness. And the ground installations, 23 facilities worldwide, all successfully integrated with the ship's systems. The neural network is stable and growing stronger by the hour. Elena studied the readouts. What they were attempting had never been done before, creating a planetary defense system that could think, adapt, and evolve in real time. The ship wasn't just providing technology. It was becoming the heart of Earth's protection. Begin the final phase, she ordered. Full neural integration. Warning lights flashed as power surged through the facility. The ship's surface became a dazzling display of shifting patterns as its consciousness fully merged with their defense network. Through their neural interfaces, the research team could feel it happening. The birth of something new, neither purely human nor purely machine. Integration successful, Harrison reported, his voice filled with awe. The network is online, and it's beautiful. Elena couldn't disagree. Through their neural link, she could sense the vast web of consciousness they'd created. The ancient ship's wisdom, combined with human innovation and determination. The defense grid wasn't just a weapon. It was a living shield, ready to adapt to any threat. We're detecting energy signatures, Torres announced suddenly. The scout ships, they're making their move. Through the neural link, Elena could feel the defense grid responding, analyzing the approaching vessels. The satellites shifted position slightly, their programmable metal components adjusting, learning. The first scout ship fired some kind of energy weapon. Before it could reach the atmosphere, a section of the defense grid lit up. The satellite's programmable metal reconfigured itself, creating a counter-frequency that absorbed and neutralized the attack. It works, Sarah breathed. The grid isn't just blocking their weapons, it's learning from them, becoming stronger. But their celebration was short-lived. New alerts sounded throughout the facility. Multiple signatures detected, Torres reported. The main fleet, they're all accelerating. They'll reach Earth in less than 12 hours. Elena straightened, feeling the determination of her team through their shared neural link. Then we'll be ready. The harvesters think they're the only ones who know how to use this technology as a weapon. Time to show them how humans fight when everything is on the line. As if in response to her words, the ancient ship pulsed with bright energy, its patterns forming complex new configurations. Through their neural link, the research team could sense its approval. The true test was coming, and Earth's defenders would face it united, human and machine, past and present, merged into something entirely new. In orbit, the defense grid continued to evolve, preparing for the battle ahead. The harvesters were about to learn that some threats came disguised as easy prey, and that humanity's greatest strength wasn't the weapons they could build, but their ability to transform what they found into something uniquely their own. The Iron Legacy. Earth's orbital space blazed with light as the Harvester fleet emerged from their final jump. 12 massive ships, their corrupted living metal hulls writhing with malevolent energy, moved into attack formation. In the underground facility, Elena Santos and her team watched through their neural interface as humanity's greatest challenge began. Multiple weapon signatures detected, Sarah reported, her voice steady despite the tension. They're charging something big. Through the defense grid sensors, they could see the enemy ships transforming, their hulls flowing into devastating weapon configurations that defied conventional physics. The lead ship fired, releasing a beam of energy that could have vaporized a small continent. But Earth was ready. The defense grid responded instantly, satellites shifting and combining their programmable metal components into a complex geometric pattern. As the enemy weapon approached, the pattern rippled and adapted, not just blocking the attack, but absorbing its energy, learning from it. First wave neutralize, Harrison confirmed. The grid is analyzing their weapon signatures and developing countermeasures. The Harvester ships paused, perhaps surprised by the effectiveness of Earth's defenses. When their leader's transmission came through, there was a note of uncertainty in its mechanically harmonious voice. Impossible. You cannot comprehend the Legacy's true power. You are merely animals playing with forces beyond your understanding. Elena smiled grimly. You're wrong. We understand better than you ever did. The Legacy wasn't meant to be a weapon. It was meant to be a shield. Through their neural link, she could feel the ancient ship's consciousness agreeing, its patterns pulsing with approval. The architects hadn't hidden their technology to keep it from lesser species. They'd hidden it until they found a species that would use it properly. The Harvesters responded with overwhelming force. Their ships launched a coordinated attack, weapons firing from multiple vectors, their corrupted living metal trying to override and infect Earth's defense systems. But with each attack, the defense grid grew stronger. The programmable metal learned, adapted, evolved. Satellites combined and reconfigured in increasingly complex patterns, creating defensive formations that the Harvesters had never seen before. They're trying to breach the grid at multiple points, Torres warned, attempting to overwhelm us with sheer firepower. Elena reached out through the neural interface, feeling the vast network they'd created. Let them try. Sarah, initiate Protocol Omega. Sarah's fingers flew across her console. The ancient ship in the chamber below pulsed with brilliant light as its core consciousness fully merged with the defense grid. Energy coursed through the network, and something remarkable happened. The satellites began to move with organic fluidity, their formations shifting like schools of fish. The programmable metal wasn't just responding to attacks anymore. It was anticipating them, moving to counter the Harvesters before they could strike. The grid is operating autonomously, Harrison reported in amazement. It's developing new defensive patterns faster than we can analyze them. The Harvester fleet's attacks grew increasingly desperate as none of their weapons could breach Earth's defenses. Their corrupted living metal struggled to adapt, but it was limited by their attempt to control it, to force it into purely destructive forms. They don't understand, Elena said, both to her team and to the enemy. The Legacy isn't about domination. It's about cooperation, about growing together. That's why humanity was chosen. Through the neural link, she sent a command. The defense grid responded, its components flowing together into a vast geometric array that surrounded the Harvester fleet. The ancient ship's consciousness reached out through the network, touching the corrupted living metal of the enemy vessels. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then patterns of light began spreading across the Harvester ship's hulls. Pure, uncorrupted patterns like those of the ancient ship. Their living metal is reverting to its original state, Harrison explained. The Legacy is purging the corruption, restoring its true purpose. The Harvester ships began to power down, their weapons falling silent as their corrupted technology was transformed. When their leader transmitted again, Its voice had changed, becoming clearer, more harmonious. We understand now. All these millennia, we never truly understood what the architects were trying to teach us. Elena nodded. The legacy wasn't a weapon to be claimed or a prize to be won. It was a lesson waiting for students who could learn it properly. In the days that followed, humanity began to truly grasp what they had achieved. The Harvester fleet, its living metal purified, chose to remain in Earth orbit, no longer as conquerors but as teachers and allies. Their vast knowledge, combined with humanity's innovative spirit, promised to open new frontiers of exploration and discovery. The ancient ship's consciousness, now permanently merged with Earth's defense grid, continued to evolve and grow. It became a guardian and guide, helping humanity take its first steps into a larger universe, while ensuring they never forgot the responsibility that came with such power. Sarah stood with Elena in the facility's observation deck, watching the transformed harvester ships glinting in the sunlight above. Do you think this is what the architects planned all along? To find a species that would change their creation into something new? Elena smiled, feeling the vast network of consciousness they'd created humming with possibility. I think they knew that true evolution only happens when you're willing to let go of control. Humanity didn't just find the legacy. We helped it grow into something more than its creators ever imagined. In orbit, the defense grid continued its eternal dance, its patterns shifting and flowing like liquid starlight. It was no longer just a shield or a weapon, but a bridge between what humanity had been and what they could become. The age of isolation was over. Earth had proven itself worthy not just of the legacy's power, but of its purpose. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, other ancient ships waited, their living metal sleeping until the right moment, the right species, came along to wake them and learn their lessons anew.